Hi everyone, in this video we're going to discuss a very common mistake in chess which has been made by a lot of chess players. Not only by amateur players, by everyone. Even the world's best players can commit themselves to this typical chess crime. In this video I will tell you what it is and how you can avoid it. And there is no better way than just to take a nice example from the highest level. And it's from a game played at a tournament which has just started today. It's the World Rapid Team Championship, which is taking place in Astana, Kazakhstan. The world's best players are participating, and Magnus Carlsen is there, world champion. Ding Liren also, for instance. But in this video we are going to check out a game played by the one and only Hans Niemann. He is playing for his own team, gmhans.com. He created his own team. Every team consists of 6 players. I think you can have 3 players of any strength. And there's 1 female board, and there's also obligation to have 1 amateur player. I'm not sure what the exact regulations are there, but maybe someone who is not higher rated than 2000, something like that. I will find out very soon for you. You are curious to see what happened, what I'm going to talk about. Well, it's Hans Niemann with the white pieces against a grandmaster from Turkmenistan with the name Meylis Annaberdiyev. Well, I told you, some typical mistake is made. Make sure to watch from the beginning till the end. And in the meantime, if you want to see more exciting videos, make sure to subscribe to the channel not to miss any of the coming videos in the near future. So thanks for that. Like this video, but most of all, enjoy this clip. So here we go. It's Hans with the white pieces. 1 e4, the Sicilian, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, and if you're a true follower of this channel, you will remember Hans playing this, the Rossolimo variation, a number of times. Even a week or 2 ago, he played this in the Turkish league against Grandmaster Dudin. In that game, the move g6 was played. Annaberdiyev goes for the move knight f6. Knight c3, queen c7, castle kingside, knight d4. Now, you can think, okay, there's this possibility that black is going to take the bishop or the knight. Well, Hans doesn't care. He goes rook b1. Because if you take on b5, you take with the knight, hit the queen, you can go c4, you can go d4. I mean, white has a nice lead in development, and you can see that, well, this is not looking too great for black. Maybe playable, but not great at all. So no need for black to release the tension. Played here the move a6 to hit the bishop. This is all very well known opening theory. The bishop goes back to f1, d6, and now white does capture on d4. Black takes back, hits the knight on c3, and the knight comes into d5, attacking the queen, hitting the knight as well. Black decides here to take on d5, you take back with the pawn, and now white has a nice half-open e-file with potential pressure against that backward pawn on e7. Well, also white has to come up with some ideas here to complete development, so the next couple of moves are pretty logical. Here, the move g6 is played, and before playing the move d3, interesting idea, as white goes for the move c4, so that if you ever take en passant, you can just take back with your d-pawn, get the bishop out. Even stronger, by the way, is to go queen a4 check. And the reason there is that after bishop d7, you can insert this move queen d4 to hit the rook. And only now after rook g8, you can take on c3 with overwhelming advantage for white, because black is having a lot of trouble where to place its king. Well, this all didn't happen. Black should not take on c3. Bishop g7 is still okay. White goes for the move d3, castle kingside, bishop g5. So here you see pressure against that pawn on e7, and black goes for the move e5. Now, if white doesn't react, then black may have some long-term nice play on the king side with something like f7, f5. So you do take with the pawn on e6, and black takes back with the f-pawn to create a half-open f-file for the rook. What should we think of this position? I believe that white is a tad better. It's not easy at all. I like a plan here like activating the bishop from f1. So for instance, bishop e2 with the idea to put the bishop on f3 looks pretty okay, as it takes away the pressure along this f-file, while it also puts some pressure on the queen side. Now, in the game, they followed the move queen d2. Black played the move e5, rook ac1, and black goes for the move b6. So you can see that black is trying to keep the queen side close, try to retain control over the c5 square. And after the move b4, there is bishop to b7. The bishop is fantastically placed on this diagonal, but on the other hand, white is having ideas here to expand on the queen side and will look for a way to break through on that side of the board. What is black gonna do? Try to launch a kingside attack with the help of the bishop, but also with the aid of the half-open f-file. So here, white played the move f3 to take away the pressure against the pawn on f2. Also, the bishop is now less impressive. Black goes for the move rook f5. And here, white goes for the move rook c2. Multi-purpose move, like you're defending with your rook along the second rank. But also Hans Niemann has another plan here. The move bishop f8 was played. And now the move rook to b1. So the rooks are nicely placed, guarding the first and the second rank. While at the same time, white is looking for opportunities to open up the queen side in the meantime. Now, what should black do? Well, I've been analyzing this a bit and I'm very under the impression that the move queen g7 is quite nice. Why is this such a nice move? The plan could be here to go h6, to hit the bishop. If the bishop goes away, you can launch your g-pawn and then you can try to open up the king side, especially when you succeed in trading off that pawn on f3, the bishop on b7, the rook on the f-file, and probably very soon the rook from a8 as well. They will gain in strength. And I think black has quite nice prospects here. But in the game, Annaberdiyev had a different plan. He wanted to trade off his bad bishop. So he played the move bishop e7. However, bad bishops, they are protecting good pawns. So with that, I mean that the bishop is guarding the pawn on d6, but it's also making it harder for white to get in the pawn break c4, c5. After this exchange of bishops, I think it will become easier for white to develop this sort of play. White played the move bishop e2, overprotecting the pawn, but it's closing the second rank. So here, rook h5 played with the plan of coming over with the queen to h4. Now white, as always, has the choice what to do. Should you go for your own plan? Should you deal with the threat of your opponent? Hans trusted his opponent. He played queen e1. The alternative is try to open up the queen side immediately. It's an interesting move, but Hans is playing very fast in this game. I forgot to tell you it's it's a rapid game, that's what I said, but the time control is 15 minutes plus 10 seconds increment, and Hans is building up quite a nice lead on the clock. He's playing fast, keeping the opponent under pressure. Played here the move queen e1, rook f8, so black brings the other rook into the game, rook bc1. And what should black do? I like a move like queen g5 here, with ideas to hit pressure, to exert pressure against the pawn on f3. Maybe queen e3 can be played. However, Annaberdiyev played bishop to c6, and to be honest, I fail to understand the exact purpose of this move. Maybe he wants to go bishop a4 and tickle the rook on c2. Anyway, Hans seizes the initiative here with the move b5. It's a pawn sacrifice, temporal one. After taking twice on b5 in the game, only once was captured, but if you take for the second time here, there is rook to b2 with a threat against the bishop, and very soon you will take the pawn on b6, and here you can see that the white rooks eventually will infiltrate. If you win the pawn on b6, then later on that a pawn can also become quite an annoying factor to deal with. So in the game, there followed bishop d5, and now the move a4 played, bringing up the a pawn, and potentially this is a passed pawn. White can always consider the move a5 to create that passer. But queen g5 played here first. Black is going for the attack here himself as well. And what does white do? Try to fend off the attack here with offering the exchange of queens. Now, if queens will come off the board, I think black is practically busted. I mean, the engine says that it's still playable perhaps, but I really don't trust it. I really think that with the open c-file and the possibility of entering with the rooks, things are looking pretty bad. So in any case, black is not interested in that. Black is not going to cooperate. Play the move queen e3, check, queen f2, and the queen goes back to h6 to hit that pawn on h2. Now, White played here the move h3, very logical move. But black is trying to create new weaknesses. Played here the move queen g5, threatening to take on h3 as the pawn on g2 is pinned. Therefore king h1, but look at this, now the bishop comes back to e6. If you're careless here, you try to do your own things, for instance with rook c7, black can just strike by sacking the bishop on h3. That is just game over, as white will be forced to give up the queen. So therefore, dealing with this threat of bishop takes h3, white consolidates with bishop to f1 and looks as if everything has been under control here. Black played the move bishop to b3, hitting the rook, hitting the pawn on a4 as well. And what should white do? I mean, white can go to many squares with that rook. I do like a move like rook c8, trying to trade off that rook on f8, which will make it easier for white to get access to the black king. However, rook c6 was played, and white is trying to win one of these pawns. Should be mentioned, of course, that the pawn on a4 is not really hanging here because there's queen a2 check. And white is going to pick up the bishop next. So after rook c6, there followed the move bishop to d5. And here we arrive at the critical moment of the game. And what you have to know is that starting the game with 15 minutes, every move is a bonus of 10 seconds. At this point, Hans Niemann had still more than 13 minutes on the clock. He was playing super fast. And his opponent, Annaberdiyev, well, he was down to a minute. You may think, okay, it's a sharp, potentially sharp position. Both sides are trying to go for their own goal. And white may pause here for a second, try to understand what the threat is of black. But Hans played here the absolute careless move, rook c7, overlooking the next move. Boom! Rook takes h3 with check. White is completely lost now because after, well, basically you have to take the rook. If you go away with the king, there is rook takes f3 and the g pawn is pinned again. White is down 2 pawns. So you take the rook. And what is it that Hans overlooked? Is it rook takes h3 or is it even the next move by black now? Because there is this follow-up, rook takes f3, attacking the queen, and wherever the queen goes, there is rook takes f1 with double check, as the rook will give a check as well as the bishop on d5. What can white do here? Not too much. If you block with your queen, well, there's just this check, rook takes f1. You're not allowed to take with the queen. If you take with the rook, there is queen takes g2 with checkmate. The alternative is to look for your own chances here. You may insert a number of checks with 2 rooks, but the king is absolutely safe on h6. So that is also not going to offer any salvation here either. Bishop g2 was played. White is giving up the queen. This is only the first moment in the game where Hans really started to think. So that is quite bizarre. After rook takes f2, bishop takes d5 is with check, king h8, and well, as I said, you can give 2 checks with your rooks, but the king can always walk in to h6, so that's not a problem. Rook g1 played, hitting the queen. Now black is completely winning. Queen f5, threatening checkmate, hitting the pawn as well. Both pawns on d3 and h3. Bishop g2 back. Looks like there is no counterplay here at all. But look at this. Why not just capture the pawn on d3? Instead, Annaberdiyev played here rook to b2, and this is a big moment in the game because he is throwing away his decisive advantage. There followed the move rook to f1 with the idea to go rook f8. If the queen goes away, it can be checkmate with the 2 rooks on the 7th and 8th rank. However, black can correct his mistake with the move rook f2 and everything is still fine. But let's take back one move. Instead of rook f1, what could white have played here? It's not easy to find, but you also have to believe in your own chances here at this point. And Hans probably felt he was completely lost anyway. Didn't consider here this move a5. This is a brilliant idea, a5, because if you take on a5, there is this move rook to f1 anyway. And the difference is that if you now block with your rook, well, you can just take on f2, queen takes f2, and then the pawn comes to b6, and if the pawn is coming to b7, you're threatening to promote it, or even with the support of the rook check on c8. There is nothing here you can do as black. Probably you should go for a repetition of moves by giving a number of checks with the queen. But that's not what you want. So that was a missed opportunity by Hans Niemann. After the move rook f1, there followed rook f2. And now white doesn't have his outside passed pawn at this point. After rook takes f2, queen takes f2. Now Hans played the move a5. Basically with the same idea. If you do take, then you bring up your b-pawn, but black can play here the move queen e1 check, and after king h2 it's queen takes a5. Black is up, a queen versus a rook and a bishop, but also does have 3 extra pawns, so that is way too much, and the other pawns are going to drop as well. So at this point Hans Niemann resigned his first game, playing for his own team, gmhans.com, at the World Rapid Team Championship. So this is absolutely bizarre. I mean, being the huge favorite, it's understandable that you use the clock in your own favor. Try to play fast, but you should always double check your opponent's resources, especially in sharp type of positions. When you're playing on one side and the other players playing on the other side, you have to double check the opponent's possibilities. I think that a player of Hans Niemann, his strength, should definitely see a move like rook takes h3. So for me, this is simply unbelievable. I really shocked with this blunder, but I think Hans should also spend his time better at critical moments. I mean, it's a typical mistake, not only for him. Many people make this mistake. Usually I do it the other way around, so I'm spending too much time controlling, checking over again my opponent's options, and then I end up in time trouble. So the way I play is also not great, because it will lead to problems later on. But you should have some sort of a balance between these ways of playing. So hopefully, instructive mistake. Let me know in the comments what you think of this game, and I'm pretty sure we will cover many more exciting games from this event. So stay tuned. Bye bye.